President Trump has agreed to order an FBI investigation into the sexual assault claims against Brett Kavanaugh. In a statement Friday, the president said that the investigation would be, quote, limited in scope and completed in less than a week. This comes after the president repeatedly said a probe into the allegations against his Supreme Court nominee would be unnecessary. Republican Senator Jeff Flake surprised colleagues Friday when he called for a delay in the confirmation vote, an idea floated by Democrats during Thursday's hearing.
I have been speaking with a number of people on the other side. We've had conversations ongoing for a while with regard to making sure that we do due diligence here. And I think it would be proper to delay the floor vote for up to, but not more than 1 week, in order to let the FBI continue to do an investigation limited in time and scope to the current allegations that are there.
Both Judge Kavanaugh and his first accuser, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, swore under oath. They were telling the truth Thursday. Ford has been asking for this investigation since her name was first leaked. Kavanaugh's opposed the idea, but he says he'll now cooperate. Jessica Levinson joins me from Los Angeles. She's a professor at Loyola Law School. So, Jessica, when we're talking about an FBI investigation, what does something like this look like?
What it looks like is trying to follow up on the leads. It looks like trying to speak with the people who were either at the party who could corroborate either one of their stories. It looks like it's talking to Mark Judge. It looks like it's talking to, if Dr. Ford is willing, to her psychologist who she spoke to about this, maybe her husband. And it's looking to see if there's any other, basically, if there any other testimony by people or if there's any other documentary evidence in the form of either photos or videos or audio files that could help shed some light on these accusations.
Senator Bernie Sanders sent a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Charles Grassley on Saturday. He's calling for the FBI to examine the truthfulness of Kavanaugh's statements that he made under oath. Can and would the FBI investigate Kavanaugh for perjury?
The FBI could investigate Kavanaugh for perjury, but I think it's important to remember what the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, does. It won't come to a conclusion. It will say, here are the statements that were made. Here are the ones that were alleged to be in violation of the perjury statute, and here's why. But they won't come to a legal conclusion. I think it's also important to remember that perjury is a very high standard. It requires a misleading statement that is a material statement of fact, meaning it affected the outcome of the proceedings, and it requires that you knew that you were lying at the time. It's very difficult to prove. You essentially need some sort of smoking gun situation. So this investigation, I think, likely will lead to a scenario where we look at a statement Judge Kavanaugh made, and a lot of people think, could you really have believed that's true? But when it comes to a charge of perjury, you can't second guess someone saying, I simply don't remember, or I don't know, or I'm not sure.
The president said this has to be limited in scope and completed in less than a week. Is that really realistic?
It's realistic because the president has limited that way. Is it realistic to really try and find out, have a full and fair airing of the issues and figure out what happened here? No, that's far from ideal. And so when we try and look at a game, so to speak, and figure out the winners and the losers, you have to look at what the rules of the game are. If you say you can only play this game for 5 minutes, then whatever team is strongest in the beginning is going to win. And that's largely what we've seen when it comes to the Senate hearings that we had on Thursday, where the Judiciary Committee decided it's going to be only 2 witnesses. It's enormously helpful for Judge Kavanaugh. And it's largely what we've seen in terms of drawing the lines of the game or the rules of the game for this investigation. You would not normally say you have 1 week to look at these serious allegations that happened a long time ago, meaning evidence will be hard to find and or obtain, dealing with a nominee for the Supreme Court of the United States.
Jessica, do we know if the FBI is looking into any of the other allegations made by other women besides Dr. Ford?
We don't know that. What we know about the other allegations is that I think it's been enormously politically harmful for Judge Kavanaugh, but the only politics that matters really are the politics that happen in the Senate chambers when they vote on his nomination. And so we don't know exactly what the FBI is looking into. President Trump has said it should be very limited in scope, and he ultimately is in charge of trying to define the parameters of their investigation.
One of Kavanaugh's close friends from high school, Mark Judge, he's been a big focus of this. He said on Friday he's willing to cooperate with the FBI. Why is that so significant, and what role do you think Mark Judge could play in this investigation?
Well, Mark Judge is a key witness when it comes to the allegations of Dr. Blasey Ford. So she said there was somebody else there. He was in the room. And so it's much more useful to actually talk to Mark Judge than to have a very short statement that was submitted by his attorney that says something. And so Mark Judge could help corroborate this story. Mark Judge could also be helpful in terms of looking at the other accusations. So the other accusations by Ms. Ramirez, by Ms. Swetnick, go to the heart of Judge Kavanaugh's defense, which is, I'm not someone who had the character at that time or ever who could possibly have committed these crimes. I never behaved that way. It's simply not within the fabric of my being that I possibly could have done that. And so Mark Judge, who was friends with Judge Kavanaugh at that time, could help shed light into his character and whether or not we believe those statements by Judge Kavanaugh.
You know, in 2006, the American Bar Association weighed in on Kavanaugh's nomination. It was then to the Federal Court of Appeals. It's since downgraded their endorsement from well-qualified just to qualified. He was nonetheless confirmed and has since been reviewed as a well-qualified. That's the term they used, that they've used that again. So, Jessica, how big of a deal is it that the ABA putting this out forward in terms of this debate happening now?
Well, I mean, so it's a big deal and it's entirely insignificant at the same time, meaning that the only thing that really matters is what's going to sway the opinion of the senators who are voting on this. And really the only thing that matters is what's going to sway the opinion of the 3 senators who may go either way on this vote. And so the ABA, Senator Lindsey Graham has described as the gold standard when it comes to reviewing judges. Judge Kavanaugh repeatedly pointed to the idea that the ABA had endorsed him as well qualified. And now the ABA is saying we need to push pause. Not he shouldn't be on the Supreme Court, but we need to pause this. We need to look at these serious allegations. We're talking about another lifetime appointment to the highest court in the world, I would say. And so is it a big deal? I mean, in legal circles, it certainly is. Will it have any effect on the senators? My guess is absolutely not.
And if this nomination fails, what's next?
Well, if this nomination fails, what's next is that President Trump absolutely has a next person on the list. And he has been enormously effective at nominating and getting confirmed judges to the federal court. So we tend to focus a lot on the Supreme Court, but President Trump has a really efficient track record at starting to pack the federal court from the district level to the Court of Appeals level with conservative jurists. So he will have his next name. He will put it before the Senate. My guess is that there will be a full and thorough conversation with Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Senate, who will say, I have the votes for this person, or is there anyone who has a shorter record, which is what Mitch McConnell said he was concerned about when it came to Judge Kavanaugh. And then the real question, of course, will be, is there any way to get somebody seated before the midterms? I think the answer to that is no, but that could be a political win for both Republicans and Democrats, who both are energized by the fact that the Senate could help determine who's the next Supreme Court justice.
Jessica Levinson, thank you very much, Jessica.